So we don't need to spend a ton of time on this. I know some of you have probably seen this before, but Applied's pillars, we feel that we've got the top talent, top total technology, and absolute adaptability. We've got a real, like I mentioned earlier, a diverse group of people, with whether it be engineers, IT professionals, app developers. Even our reprographics department is top notch. We do a lot of reprographics for different architectural firms. So if you need, even outside of that, I guess, we actually print a lot of our training manuals. So if you do need, documents scanned, printed, whatever it is, we've got the ability to do that too. So we feel confident we can definitely help in a lot of different aspects of your business. I'm going to just skip that second video there and move into a couple other discussion items here on the data management side. And I know you're probably tired of looking at PowerPoint's presentation, so after this we're going to jump into some actual systems. You'll actually get to see some live tools out there that are available to help you with your data management needs. So we'll get into that here shortly, just so you're aware. But before we do that, I just wanted to touch on a couple more things on the data management side. We talk, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on each of these, but and I already mentioned revision control, lifecycle management, copy and design. Searchability is a really key thing when you're looking for a good data management tool. I'm sure everybody's had the need to go back, to dig down into a Windows folder structure. And in fact, really a lot of our customers, it's probably hopefully less than 50% now, but a lot of customers are still using just regular Windows folders to kind of store their CAD data or even other important documentation that's required to build their designs and their machines, and I guess track that throughout the history or throughout the life cycles of a product. So, well, we've all had to go dig through that to try to find something, and obviously it takes time if you don't have the right tools to be able to search on it. So that's the beauty of a good data management tool, is to be able to search on all the different attributes that are associated with the particular particular file or a document. There's all kinds of metadata that we can store with those files to be able to get to them much quicker, and without having to kind of have the pain of digging through some Windows folders anyway. And when you kind of get, obviously, as your business expands, we need to distribute that information potentially to multiple sites. So that's always something you want to kind of think about when you're picking a data management tool. Is it capable of transferring that data quickly to multiple sites? So we've got several customers that have sites either throughout the Midwest or even overseas, and we help them, I guess, basically get that data synchronized throughout those locations. And obviously, even for smaller companies, you might need to distribute data, to customers or to maybe even to different departments underneath the same roof. And in that case, a web-based version of a data management tool is very handy as well. So again, if you're looking at a tool, obviously there's cost is always an issue, but just if you think about some of the other advantages that come with those, like being able to access data through the web, is really a kind of a key aspect, at least that we found too with a lot of our customers. They're looking to get more people access to that information. All right, so I guess the rest of this stuff we'll kind of maybe talk about as we go through and talk about some systems, but there's a whole bunch of options out there, to be honest with you. I mean, I guess I've been fortunate over the past 13 years to work in a variety of systems. We've helped develop systems from the ground up for different customers. One of them that we still have that we can still sell or provide to customers is called Chinook, and that's really, it's not a CAD-based system. It's more of a bill of material and change management system. So there's some benefits there. Obviously, your CAD structure doesn't always match exactly your bill of material structure. There might be some different changes in there as it goes kind of down the line from your engineering side to your manufacturing. So that's one. There's Autodesk Vault is I think one of our leading tools, at least from our customer base anyway. Obviously that's an Autodesk product. It works well with Inventor, it works well with AutoCAD, AutoCAD Electrical, a lot of those different Autodesk tools. Vault is a great option, and that is more of a an engineering tool. That's built to be CAD, store your CAD data in a central environment, but there are also some other advantages there as far as distributing data and using lightweight viewables and stuff like that. So we'll talk about that one a little bit. Another good one out there is Autodesk PLM 360, and that's a tool it's cloud-based. However, it's got certain advantages. It's not really CAD-centric. It's more of a PLM, so product life management. Not necessarily when we call it PDM. We're thinking more of the actual CAD data. But so it's a tool that's kind of built to spread the information company-wide. Service, quality, manufacturing, procurement, all those different areas of your company. If they need to access data, PLM 360 is the big, the umbrella that kind of, gives everybody what they need. So that's something we'll take a little bit of a look at today too. And there's obviously a bunch of other ones too, like SolidWorks has their own. The Pro Creo has Windchill is another tool out there, and I guess I've had interactions with a lot of those systems throughout the years, whether it be training, working with customers to implement those. So there's a lot of options to sort through if you're looking to look into a data management system. But a couple of the ones I'd like to look at today, like I mentioned, is Autodesk Vault. And just to kind of get away from the slides here for a second, I'm just going to jump out and we'll show just a little bit about what Vault can do, what it looks like. I'm sure some of you that are attending today have probably already seen it a little bit. Maybe you've researched it. Maybe you're actually using it at your location, but maybe not to the fullest extent. So one of the things I like to kind of show is sort of the change management process that's built into Vault. It's got some automatic routings. It can help control, who sees the changes, and it's just a nice tool, almost like a little electronic carrier for all the parts that if you're modifying or making changes to them, making revisions to them, to kind of quickly go access that data instead of having to search for it again. So this is Autodesk Vault, and right now I'm looking at particular folders. So you can still kind of set up folders structure similar to Windows, but obviously this is all getting stored on a server is kind of the key thing. So when I'm working on it on my local machine, I'm pulling this data down to my local. This is just kind of the window into the server. I'm looking at the Vault client. But obviously if I'm going to start making changes to it, I've got to open it up in my CAD application, and that's when I actually bring the data local, and that's kind of a performance thing too, kind of a concept behind Vault, is that you don't want to be saving data back and forth to the server. And not that that's a very common thing. If you're not using a data management tool, you want to store it on a secure environment on a server so that it's backed up instead of just having people store it locally. But there's also that performance hit that you take when you're saving something, opening it from a server all the time. You're probably seeing a little lag time there. Even though networks have gotten a lot better, throughout time, obviously. But so that's an advantage here of Vault, and a lot of CAD systems will kind of use that same methodology where you pull the files local in order to work on them. So yeah, just kind of, we're looking at our folder structure on the left. I've got a file picked here on the right side. So this is kind of just the items that are in the folder that I selected are kind of my main window pane. And as you pick something, we can see the history underneath it. So obviously a key component of a data management system is to be able to go back in time and grab a previous version. And that's something key to keep in mind. Versions and revisions are really kind of two different things, and that term, obviously those terms can be kind of interchangeable between different systems, but within Vault specifically, versions are really every time you check in a file or anytime the state changes. You can see I've got 3 different versions down here, and that I can go back to, and eventually, if I need to go back and pull that one, make it the most recent, you've got the options there to do that. Because every time you store another file in Vault, check it in, it's creating another copy of it that we can go back and utilize down the road. Now up on top, this is where my revisions are kind of located, and that's, we're always looking at the most recent up on top here, but over on the right is actually the revision letter, and that's kind of a key thing with Vault. There's 3 different editions. There's Vault Basic, which is free, that comes with your product design suite. Vault Workgroup there's a little bit of cost involved with that, but it gives you some revision control, lifecycle management. And then we're looking at Vault Pro right now, which has both the lifecycle states, that's released, and then revision control. And you might think, well, aren't those just properties that you can store with a file? But really, they're a little bit more than that. I mean, there's some rules that are involved with assigning lifecycle states, who can and can't access it. With revision control, we can set up some actions when you know, as far as bumping revisions, you know, what causes that to happen when I go from, you know, say revision, if I want to make a change to this at revision A and it's at released, the next time I try to, you know, change the state back to work in progress, Vault automatically bumps that to B so that we know, you know, revision or released revision A is always going to stay in that same state. We can always go back to it and grab it. So that's kind of an important feature within Vault as well. All right. And then obviously all the properties are important as far as searching for a file. Over on the right, we can kind of see some of those. On the bottom are the user-defined properties. On the top are the more system-defined properties. So there's close to 100 different ways, 100 different properties, attributes we can use to search and find parts. I don't have a ton of data in this test environment right now, so it's maybe not as critical, but you know, we've got just a key, you know, a nice little find function here where we can do a basic search or actually kind of build a search using some of the properties that are associated with it, whether it be the date that it was created, the person that designed it, many different ways to find that stuff. All right, but I did kind of mention we're going to kind of get into an ECO here and just kind of go through that process. You can kind of see what it would look like, you know, and obviously that process may look a little bit different in other systems, but it's really kind of a common, you know, way of documenting changes, whether you call it an ECO or an ECN. You know, obviously there's ECR, which would be kind of a change order or a change request, and this tool kind of combines those to kind of create one nice workflow for that type of function. Before I get into that too, I just want to point out one other thing. The underneath here on the preview window, you know, the real advantage that you want to have with the data management system is for it to realize the relationships between the different parts and different assemblies. So if I expand these out, obviously the assembly, I've got some parts underneath it, I've got some sub-assemblies, stuff like that. So it's obviously important, you know, whether I'm moving stuff around, changing the names of these parts, that your data management system keeps track of all those changes that you're making. And that's one thing that Vault does here, and I think a lot of systems would, you know, at least on the CAD side, you know, on your PLM side, if it's more kind of broken from your CAD, you know, they may not be as connected there, but on the CAD side, obviously, if you're going to open this assembly, you need the piece parts to come with it and all that. So, so you got your uses, which would be kind of your CAD structure. The where use would go up the ladder. In this case, it's kind of my top level, but if I select a different part here, you can see we can kind of go up the ladder to see parents above it, and then if there's any change orders associated with it, or obviously the preview is nice too if I'm not sure what part I'm looking at, or if I want to kind of do some measuring on it, we can always, you know, use the visualization option within Vault here to kind of get a better look at it. Kind of wait for that to pop up. And so this is kind of a, you know, it's a live interactive model that we can zoom in, zoom out on, be able to check, you know, measurements. If you're checking a specific, you know, length, we can get that, and as well as a couple other options here. And if you don't see everything you want, like as far as markups and stuff, there is the option to just open it into Design Review, which is kind of a free viewer to be able to look at DWFs and make markups, explode the view, and do cross sections, stuff like that. Okay, so that kind of takes me to the ECO part of Vault. I think is kind of an important thing, and the way I'm going to do this one here is, let's say you know, your designer calls you up, maybe you're the manager, and says, hey, I think we need to make a change to this spider lift arm. It's got a flaw, or maybe it's just a specific component in here like this claw. Let's say that they're trying to build it out in the prototype shop, and it turns out we made the holes too small or something like that. So you know, we need to make a change to this. It's already been released, so unfortunately, you know, obviously you want to catch those things before you release a revision typically, but you know, that isn't always the case, you know, in the real world. So let's say we want to go ahead and make the change to this. So I'm just going to grab a couple of these components. Let's say we want to do the claw. I'm going to say, okay, where's that one used? I want to make sure I go one level up So it is just right underneath the spider lift arm. So I'm going to grab just both of those. Maybe I don't need to change the rest of these components. You don't necessarily have to, but I can't just do a check-in, check-out on it, make those changes since it's at released state right now. And notice another indicator of that is the lock next to it. This tells me that I can't just make a quick change that. So the first thing I've got to do is really change the state, but in order to do maybe the due diligence on this process and kind of send it through and say why did we change it, let's go ahead and create an ECO for it. So with those both selected, I'm going to go add to change order. We'll create a new one. Nope, this one's already probably on one, isn't it? So the file currently associated, oh, it's already on an open change order. So that's some of the checks and balances here of a file. Let's see, this one is on one too. Okay, let's just go grab a different part maybe, and I bet these are all probably on an ECO, aren't they? Yep. All right. I'm just going to go. I'm going to go grab a different part here, and that one's on. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay, there's a part that's not on, so this is a little bit different looking part, but at the same time we'll be able to make a change to it. And obviously that's a key, thing that you want to have checked there. You don't want to have a part going out on two different ECOs so that somebody can't make two different changes to it at the same time. So that's obviously working like it should there. Well, let's go ahead and grab a couple of these parts, and we'll add those to an ECO. All right, so this is kind of the electronic version of the ECO that Autodesk created for Vault. And really the front page here is just kind of more general information. Let's say we're changing change hole size. And obviously a detailed description is hole, was too small. So we'll just go with that. Generates an automatic ECO number. And as soon as I save it, now it kind of initiates the process. It still hasn't been submitted, but obviously now I could go back, maybe figure out, do I need other parts to this or something like that. But within the records now on the ECO, it's added those two files to it. So this is almost kind of like a little bucket that we can put information into and kind of have it follow through a specific routing. And the routing is kind of over here on the status side, so we can kind of see where it's at. The ECO right now is in the create stage, and we're ready to submit it over here to this open stage. All right, so as soon as I do that, let's go ahead and submit it. It pops open a option here to enter in some comments that I want to put, and it's just going to send an automatic email to the person next in the routing line. So we'll say, please review change and complete. So at that point, then it goes to the next person, in the chain of command there, basically. And really, if we go over here to the ECOs, let's see, the one we just changed hole size. It's just at the open stage now. Now we can see this is the kind of the change administrator section or stage of an ECO. So they're kind of the gatekeeper. They can say, yep, let's make the change, or no, let's not. So that might be kind of a supervisor, engineering manager type, or maybe a lead engineer that's can say that, yes, that's a good idea, or no, that's not. Obviously, as soon as they say, yep, I think that's good. And the other advantage here too is we can review, these changes and be able to look at a specific, right within our ECO, the ECO itself. In this electronic version, we can look at specific files and review them, do some measuring, or open it in design review. And that way it allows you not to have to open up the actual inventor file or your CAD file. We're looking at the lightweight viewables here. All right, let's go ahead and submit that on. We'll say, yeah, that does look like the holes are too small, so we'll go ahead and submit it. Better make sure I pick the right one. There is a fast track. Yeah, okay, so the one right next to that is you can submit and force approval as the change administrator, saying, okay, maybe the work's already done, or you want to kind of fast track it so it doesn't have to go through all the approval processes. So it does give you a little bit of flexibility there, whether you want to make a quick change or not. We'll just submit it again. It brings up the email here, or to comments to put in, and we'll say, please continue with change requested. All right, so that sends it on now to the responsible engineer. Again, we can always look at the status See, now it's at the work stage. That just means that the responsible engineer can now start working on the part. Really at that point then, you know, if I am, say, the responsible engineer, right from the records side here, we can grab these files and just do a get checkout on them. And that basically just brought them down to my local machine, and now we can start working on them locally. Obviously, if I was, I guess I do have Inventor open, I can go ahead and make a quick change to that. I did want to point out one other thing though. Notice there was one other step here. If these had the previous ones that I was going to try were at release state. So I would need to get them to work in progress state in order for that to be changed, and then we would see that they would those files would jump then to revision B. Like in this case, looking at revision A there, if we do a change state on that, which typically that would happen kind of through the ECO process, change back to work in progress, hit OK, and now notice the lock goes away on that part. It goes to work in progress and it bumps it to revision B. So some of that stuff you can kind of set up in you know, behind the scenes. That's really kind of the out of the box function. And you saw the different states as I go change state again. You know, out of the box we've got work in progress, for review, released, obsolete. So those are, you know, and obviously those can be expanded on. It's you know, very customizable as far as that goes. It's, you know, setting up your life cycle states. You might want to put a test state in there or something like that, or maybe a service state. You know, different maybe customer approval, where you don't want people to modify, but it's sitting at those specific states. Okay, so those are some of the, I guess, concepts here behind Vault that are used in order to manage data. Always be able to track who's working on it. Now in that previous part that I looked at here, so I did, let's see, yeah, that one right there, the ones I just downloaded. If we're going to eventually work on those, then we pop into the CAD system, and now notice those have been downloaded here, and that was Optic Mode 2. There's that same part I was looking at if we need to change the whole size. Then we fire it up in our CAD tool, and continue on with the change. Now obviously, now that I have it checked out, everybody else in the company, you know, sees that. They're going to see who has it checked out, and then you know, they can still download it, they can still look at it. They're just not going to be able to make any changes to it and then check it back in over the top of that. So, and then another nice advantage here is you have the option. There's a, if you are currently Inventor users, obviously you're using the model browser a lot to make your changes. Let's say we'll just make a change to a hole here. Go edit the sketch. Oh, on the wrong side of the sketch here. Oh, that wasn't the right. Let's close that one. There's the hole itself. Let's go edit feature on that. Change the hole to maybe 0.5. And we'll save that. Now if I look at my Vault browser, now it turns green, saying that now our local version is newer than what's out in Vault. So the next step then is to just right click, check it in. So the nice thing is you want to be able to work mostly from your CAD tool, obviously. So the integration here allows you to do that within the Vault browser. Also over on, I'm going to uncheck that. And you can send a little comment here saying you increased hole size. Check it back in. It's going to send it over back to the Vault. There's also a little another tab that gets added in your ribbon in order to do some of those same, you know, Vault operations, checking in, checking out, you know, changing the state, category, some of those other options that are required kind of throughout the design of a part. All right, let's bounce back here, Vault, and if I refresh, we'll see this is the file that I just kind of worked on. Now it's checked back in and potentially ready to, you know, complete the ECO that was out there, and we can get that here from change the hole size. So notice my work list over here too kind of shows me the ECOs that I currently have in progress. So we fire that up again, and we can kind of continue on with the work. You can add one more. The real the one thing about the ECO side here in Vault is that this is really kind of what the workflow kind of needs to look like. The one change you can make is to add a check state in here. So there's some ways to kind of work around that. If you need to say remove a state, you can kind of submit it through it. But the next tool I'll show gives you a little better way to customize a workflow, and that's PLM 360. So if you find that the Vault workflow for an ECO isn't quite what you're looking for, I guarantee you the PLM 360 one can, because you can build it from scratch, kind of like creating a workflow in Visio or something like that. It's really customizable out there. So anyway, those are a couple of the things I wanted to just point out in a data management tool. Obviously, revision control, lifecycle states, ECO management. We did talk about bill of material management a little bit as well, and Vault has the capability to do that. Whether it be just creating items over here on your own, this is kind of like the item master. It's really sort of two separate sides of Vault, even though they're connected. So items, obviously, you want them to be connected if there is a CAD file, which is typically the case, but there might be also other files in here, like we created just a bolt, a bag of bolts here that maybe goes with your assembly, and that one wouldn't have maybe a CAD tool. Maybe they just kind of throw stuff in there for spares or something like that. So you can add just regular items not connected to a CAD file. You can add those into your bill of materials here, and then eventually go export those out to a CSV file where it can be imported into your ERP system. And there are some softwares out there that can kind of integrate all these systems. Obviously, if you don't want to have to do the export import, we've got ways to do that either through our IT team or through other tools that are out there that Autodesk partners with in order, we call them I guess middleware, in a way where it's going to send data back and forth as needed between different systems. So a lot of capabilities there to hopefully eliminate the need to reuse a bunch of, or retype and re-enter a lot of that data. All right, so with that, let's bounce back to the slides here, and my next one that I wanted to kind of show you was PLM 360, and it's not, this is a newer tool. It's been out there for, I'm sure it's been at least a few years now, but Autodesk has put a lot of development effort into it. I think it's got a lot of capabilities. I would suggest, if you're interested in it, we can certainly show you more about this tool. I'm just going to show you a little tidbit today, but it's really something that can expand throughout your entire company and have real great benefits, not only for engineering team, but for a lot of other departments within your company. But I'll just kind of read the PLM 360 makes the management of processes, projects, and people easy and effective by automating key tasks and delivering the right information to the right people at the right time. So this isn't something that's going to manage, just your CAD data. Vault is an engineering tool. It's good at checking in, checking out your CAD data, as well as a few other things. But within PLM 360, it's more of your bill of materials, your items. It's actually good for project management, and like I mentioned, really distributing that data to a lot of other companies. So let's go ahead and take a look at that once. I'm just going to pop over here, and this is just obviously a web-based tool. It is a cloud, so the information is stored in Autodesk Cloud, which I know that kind of, it doesn't always have a good tone, I guess, for some people, and I think everybody was a little bit leery as things got started with cloud type of tools. But when you think about it, really what the cloud is doing is Autodesk stores data on their servers, and you have access to that. So you've got access to really the most powerful servers out there in a secure environment. So if you're doing heavy computing and storing a ton of data that you maybe don't have the room for or want to invest in underneath your own roof, the cloud is really a good option for that. So if you'd like to hear more about that, we can discuss that further at another time too. But so this is basically what you see with PLM 360, and there's a few key. I'm just looking at, I think this is on the administrator side. It's the user management. Let's see, what am I looking? Yeah, so under security, I'm just looking at the users that we have in our system right here. But let's just jump over here to another portion of it on the main menu, and you wouldn't see the administrator tab for typical users. You can obviously customize this, so maybe somebody in manufacturing only sees what they really need to. But that's kind of the beauty of it too. You can kind of scale it up. You don't have to necessarily implement it and have everybody accessing the system. Maybe you just use it for your project management, right off the bat, or just the engineering side as far as managing your products and your items. But it's got a great change management tool. I'll show that here in a little bit as far as how to customize that to a workflow that would fit your company. But notice there's a section for procurement, one for quality, and there's a lot of subheadings here too for these different departments: quality inspection plan, manufacturing, sales and marketing, service and support, and then there's a couple other sections here for reference documents and some ISO type things. But let's just take a look at a few of these just so you can kind of get a taste for it. I'm just going to go into the products here, and this is data that we loaded in a while back, just kind of for demo purposes. So we don't have a ton in here, but we'll kind of show as you pick a product. You do get some visualization within. It'll bring the CAD. In this case, we've got a CAD image of my particular design. We can go through and look at bill of materials. Over here, so this is underneath the product side. We can see all the different components that go together to build this. We can also see, okay, maybe this is like preliminary stages. We can kind of check the project schedule, see kind of where we're at with things, and expand that out to see, there's the project kickoff, what steps of the project do we have done, and this is all just live data, so anybody that logs in, they're going to see the latest and greatest. You're not trying to update spreadsheets and save over the top of each other. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do those kind of things, and maybe ways we used 5-10 years ago, but obviously there's, once you get into saving over the top of the same file for everybody, you typically run into some issues there. So this is a nice collaborative tool for everybody. All right, so that's just kind of a little bit on the product side. I do want to take a look at, so notice there's a change management process in here, and I mentioned in Vault that workflow is pretty much set in stone. I think the one thing, I don't know if I forgot to add that, but you can add a check state stage if you want a drawing checker in there. That's really the only option you have for modifying that workflow. But out here, if you choose to use this tool, let's go into the workspace manager in just a couple more minutes here, and we'll wrap things up. So down in the let's see, that's in the workspace manager. We can go down here to, say, change orders. I want to slide that open, and then down below there's a workflow manager. So this is on the admin side. I can go in. This will show the by default here the workflow that's been set up. So you got kind of the create the ECO, goes to a routing where you can change and lock the items, and then it can go through either a fast track. There can be a document only. But this is all something we can change here. So let's say, and let's say I wanted to add my own section over here for maybe, I don't know, rendering files or something that's maybe more for marketing. So you can take that or start from scratch. Up on top, you've got some tools here to create items or create another workflow section, but I'm just going to copy that one and we can just paste it over here and start building a whole nother avenue for this particular change. At that point I could, copy. So again, you can kind of see it's sort of like creating. Let's see, copy that. Close arrows. Oh, okay. That's this one. I need to do a little bit of fixing on. I think this one over here is probably. Let's see if that'll do the trick. There. Okay. I'd accidentally created another section there for it, but as you're modifying this, you kind of connect it to the right spots. So if you've ever used a tool like Visio, you can see if you pick, where you want it to land on, and then just drag that over. I keep selecting the wrong thing there, I think. That over here. Have that select or move to the other file there. Then you can add some jogs in this or add elbows to be able to move this thing in the right spot. There we go. So move that up. Then we can move this one over. Little elbow there didn't work too good. There we go. Okay, now we could add one more elbow over here in order to kind of complete. You know, obviously, if I want to make this all square and nice, you know, I could continue with that. But the idea is that we can modify our own workflows and, you know, create them from scratch, take these templates and make changes to them. And actually then within each of these stages here, we can modify, you know, what happens at each of these transitions or who it has to go to, you know, based on the roles that people are assigned to be able to approve these ECOs and or not necessarily even an ECO, but any other type of document. So obviously it'd take me a little bit longer to kind of finish up building that, but hopefully you kind of get the idea that this is a much more customizable way to create workflows, whether it be on the engineering side, let's not say that, or a lot of these other areas. Maybe we've got documents going through marketing, through service, sourcing, all those different areas. So really a well-rounded tool for transferring information to the right people and making it good live information. All right. So with that, hopefully you kind of got a little bit of info and you know, helpful information on if you're, you know, building your current data management system, looking at ways to expand it, or even just looking for the first tool. If you're storing things in Windows, you know, that's you know, something that it would be worth looking at, you know, some of the advantages there that you could gain by moving to another tool. So anyway, thank you for attending today, and I guess now at this point, if you want to add any questions into the question slide of the GoToWebinar, and I'll try to answer those. And while those questions are getting added in or sent in, I just want to point out here we do have some upcoming webinars. If you're interested in attending some of the other ones we've got coming up, Sigma Nest, we'll do another one on Vault Pro that'll get a little bit more into the specifics. Nastran, AutoCAD Electrical. We just developed another class for AutoCAD Electrical called AutoCAD Electrical Advanced, which is a 2-day class that gets into a lot of the more complex subjects, if that's something you're interested in. And then we've got also a lot of upcoming training classes throughout our different offices throughout the Midwest. So Sioux Falls, Fargo, Brooklyn Park, Wisconsin. Look forward to seeing you in those classes in the future.
Eric, there was one question that came in. What factors in a choice between PLM 360 and Vault Professional?
Well, really, I think a lot of times they would go in conjunction with each other. When you're the question between the two, they're really kind of doing two different things. You know, Vault is going to manage CAD data specifically on the engineering side, and obviously there's an ECO tool there, so I know there's some overlap. I would say if you're going to implement, you know, PLM 360 and Vault, I would probably lean towards using the ECO tool within PLM 360, just because you can add other people outside of Vault in that. There are some workarounds with that too, though. You know, they just added, I think, Autodesk this last version with 2016. You can now have a Vault license just for approvers, and it's about 1/4 of the cost, I think, of a full Vault Pro license that like a CAD user would use. So you can still utilize that workflow and have other people get access to it. It's just, you know, it's just a little bit of a lighter weight version of Vault Pro called Vault Office that they can go in and change the state of files and approve ECOs and stuff like that. Any other questions?
Nothing I see right now.
Okay, well, thanks again, everybody, and good luck with your data management challenges down the road. So we're here to help. If you have any other further questions, feel free to, you know, hit us up at go-applied, or obviously contact Dave, Elliot, or myself, and we'll look forward to talking to you down the road.